Hey everybody, we're coming live from rainy, torrential rain, Connecticut. It's really coming down here today, and but it's an okay day. It's actually windy and rainy, and there's some people without power. So we'll send them love and light and hope they get their power back soon. Anyways, the next habit for happiness is to dream big. So I've been actually thinking about that one since yesterday, because I was thinking, how can people dream big when they're afraid, or when they're full of anxiety, or when they're fearful about what the future holds, or what's happening in the world because of the COVID-19. And so I thought a lot about that since yesterday. So here's my thought. Let's think really big about how this can be transmuted and released from all of our energy systems and all of the people who are suffering from it. And obviously one of the ways is, prayer. That I know there's a lot of people doing prayer out there, which I'm super grateful for. I also know there's a lot of people out there doing Reiki for the world and Reiki for others. And I'm super grateful about that as well. And they also are doing meditations, like that peace meditation, to transmute it. So I think there's some really good things that are happening where people have the ability to change their focus and think about how they could do something where dream big actually means dreaming really big. Like, let's encompass the whole world and release this virus from whence it came, so it's inert and it doesn't hurt anyone anymore, and it doesn't get into our system in any other ways. And I know there's talk about it being in animals. There's talk about people who've had it. They think they've actually had it in December already and have recovered from it, but of course there was no testing back. Way sicker than a flu normally had symptoms for them. So it's kind of interesting that there really doesn't seem to be enough information to make a really good judgment call about how this is spread. Of course, we know there's surfaces. We know about washing hands and not and all that. That's kind of interesting. However, there seems other factors in it that are unknowns. And I think that's what makes it very confusing. It also makes people fearful and full of anxiety, because they don't even know which way to turn. It's like you're just standing there with your hands up in the air going, what do I do now? And then, half of the small businesses in the United States are closed or aren't allowed to be working. And I think that's thanks. Small businesses actually run the world, not the big corporations and not the big companies and not the big organizations, but rather the businesses that are like under, say, a couple $100,000 gross incomes are a huge majority of small businesses in the country and probably in the world. Statistics for the world, so can't quote those, but I can definitely tell you that there's a lot more small as a group than there is large businesses, and that just comes from a study that was done in Connecticut back in the 90s. And so I think a lot about those small businesses, myself being one of them. A lot of the people who are in my organization of the Holistic Community Professionals are all small business people. They work from home, or they work in small everything from salons to doing trade shows and fairs and events and things that I do to bring them to the public. So I find that very difficult to see that that's going to, it's not going to disappear, let's say, even after, quote unquote, the state opens up again for gatherings. I don't know if there's going to be limitations on those gatherings. So there's a lot of unknowns. So that can cause people to be fearful and to not dream big. But I'm the eternal optimist. So, and And some people can call it denial, but I don't think so, because I know there's a downside to everything, and I know there's icky stuff that happens in the world, and I recognize that it's probably always going to happen to some degree, and there's not much I can do about some of those things, but there are things I can do about myself. And some of that is, bringing up the vibration, looking at the bright side, encouraging people, praying for people, having guided meditation guide you, so to speak. I'll use the word you universally, that you find the things that you need when you do your meditation that are right for you to do, to bring up your vibration or to bring up your dream big state. So maybe when you go to bed tonight, before you go to sleep, just think about, what am I going to dream about tonight? Can I dream big? Can I change something? It only takes one person to change the world. In many, many instances, we've seen that. Everybody from Gandhi to Mother Teresa to name somebody. There's a whole bunch of other people. But it literally can just take one person. Start a trend of kindness and good thoughts and dreaming big and doing something spectacular. And you don't have to be the best known or the best at it. You can do your piece in the world with the people that know you and that you connect with. So I always maybe start with an idea, because thoughts are things. You start with an idea of maybe something that you want to accomplish or something that you think is the right thing for you to do. And you don't even have to check it out with anybody. You can start doing some research on it, do some due diligence in finding out if it's a viable thing or if it's something that you want to do, and then start taking small baby steps forward to doing that thing. So everything that you've seen in the world to date has all come from a single thought. So just think about that for a minute. Every single thing that you've seen, everything from telephone poles and wires to cars, motors, airplanes, stop signs, everything. Every single thing that's quote unquote man-made came from a single thought. We didn't build that brick building that I'm passing by just because. It happened because someone had the forethought to put it on paper, get an architect, draw it out, lay it out, and then somebody came along and built it for them. So I always think it's interesting that so little attention is around those kinds of things, where really everything comes from thought. You deciding to get up in the morning comes from thought. It doesn't come because you decided to lay there. You decided to get up, even if you didn't, cognizantly, consciously decide. You decided to get up this morning. So I always find it interesting that, hey Rich, hey Dave, that people don't give a lot of attention to what they're thinking about. So I just wanted to bring that up as one of the other 5, I think we're on number 5 or 6 day, I forget which day we're at, habits for happiness. And while you have some downtime, while you're on your personal retreat from the world, if you are, and if you're spending more time by yourself, use it productively. Take some time to do some meditation. Take some time to write down. They also have things called automatic writing or journaling or those kinds of things that you can kind of maybe spur some thought processes. And hey Chris, and help people to help yourself to bring something to people that they may want. I think it's very interesting that our thoughts are not talked about very much in school. It's almost kind of like rote learning. They spill out some information and you're kind of required to, put it back out on a piece of paper that says you know it. But yet the thought process of doing all those things isn't really discussed. And we are human beings with lots of thoughts that come to us every day. And you can train your mind. You can train your mind to think good thoughts. You can train your mind to think good things that are helpful to you, as opposed to, beating yourself up or being negative about things. So even in the midst of all this COVID-19 upheaval, there are a lot of really great things. We've all heard about things like, the waterways becoming cleaner, like miraculously in less than a month they've become cleaner, that the air in Los Angeles and India is super clean, that people have not seen some of the things there that for many decades because of the pollution. So look at all the really great things. So think about how somebody might come across a really great idea to maybe do something like that down the road, to figure out how to reduce emissions, how to reduce pollution, how to not dump things in the oceans or the waterways. There are people who are doing it, like that young boy that's came up with some idea with a big, I guess it's going to be called kind of a big net, to get some of the world's garbage out of the ocean. We have these huge floating garbage piles, floating in the ocean, and they're not the greatest thing to have, that's for sure. I don't think Mother Earth really likes them. So I think it would be nice if we could figure out a way to get rid of some of that stuff. We polluted it, let's clean it up. So we universally, and that's, in general. So I think that's some of those dream big things. I would love to see more attention paid to, taking good care of the earth so that it takes good care of us. Even today, guys, the sun is always shining. I know you don't see it right now. I know you don't probably think it's out there, but it is. If the sun didn't shine just for one day, we would all be annihilated. So we know that the sun does shine out there, and even if it's a cloudy, rainy day or it's nighttime, the sun is shining somewhere on this planet, taking good care of us in many, many ways. Your vitamin D comes from the sun too, and that helps people get healthier as we move forward in life. So I'm thinking about dreaming big, and as I move through life, I think about some of those other things about a habit for happiness, and if I dream big enough, I can put a smile on my face, or just even maybe come up with an idea of something that might be helpful somewhere down the road. So those are my thoughts for today. I hope you enjoyed them and have things to think about for yourself that makes sense for you to be dreaming about, because each one of us is unique, and each one of us comes through in different ways of how we view the world. We come from where we are, and each person comes with a different experience. Oh, I got a big pile of water here. And because of that, your thoughts are going to be different than mine. So dream your big dream, and maybe write it down, maybe start making a stab at it to make something different in your world that pleases you. I think that's super important. That's how you can be happy, is even if it's something small, if it's a big dream for you, then it's big enough. So go for it. So with that said, I will probably be back. Well, I will be back on tomorrow, God willing. And I think it's supposed to be a little bit better weather tomorrow, but you know me, the weather doesn't bother me one bit. I like all the seasons. I like all the weather. So without the rain, we don't have all the new blossoms coming up in April and May, and all the beautiful flowers that show up our way. So with that, guys, I'm going to say off we go again. The sun is always shining. It's up there somewhere. And I hope you have a spectacular evening, and I'll talk to you again sometime tomorrow. Bye for now.